Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Mukesh English. Friends, in this video I'll summarize a very interesting story, The Trial for Murder, written by the famous writer Charles Dickens. So let's begin the introduction about this story. The Trial for Murder. It's a supernatural short story and it was first published in 1865, and the title was, and it was in one of the magazines, Dickens magazine, all the year round. It was published in that particular magazine. It's a supernatural short story where Charles Dickens combines the elements of mystery, the gothic, and the courtroom drama. The story is narrated in the first person by a man who is unexpectedly chosen as the foreman of a jury at the Old Bailey Court in London. Foreman means to say the head of the jury. Jury means to say the group of the judges. So the narrator is selected as the head of the particular judges where at the Old Bailey Court. Now, through this story, the writer Charles Dickens expresses that justice is not only served by human law but also by supernatural forces. It suggests that truth cannot be hidden. Guilt will always reveal itself either through conscience or through some higher invisible power. So it's a very ghost story, light ghost story, where we will see um, a ghost who is asking for the, we can say, nyaya, justice, right? And he appears in front of the court, jury members, and the criminal, and finally what happens we'll see here. So the story begins like this. The narrator begins by saying that people usually hesitate to share strange experiences, especially when it comes to dreams, visions, or mysterious feelings. So many people, they don't share the things like about the dreams, what they have seen. Why? Because they feel that either people will make a fun of them, or they may not believe when they talk about the visions, the dreams, or some sort of mysterious feelings. But here, the narrator has decided to share his own unusual experience, which is connected with a murder case. So now the story begins here with this note. Some years earlier, a shocking murder took place in England. The newspaper reported this murder case very highlightedly, very widely. One morning, while reading the first reports about the crime, the narrator suddenly had a strange vision. When he was reading this report in the newspaper, suddenly he had some sort of a vision in his mind, a kind of imagination or a kind of fantasy started in his mind, a kind of strange vision. So, what happened in his vision? He saw he saw a murdered man's bedroom is passing before his eyes. Means to say he can see the murdered man's bedroom is in front of his eyes, just like a moving picture. Though he was sitting in his chair in Piccadilly. Means to say Piccadilly is a street which connects to the Piccadilly Circus in London, and that street is very noisy. He's saying that though I'm sitting in my chair in the street Piccadilly, and in spite of so much noisy place, he is able to see the moving picture of the murdered man's bedroom, right? And the vision was so clear that he even noticed there was nobody on the bed. He also noticed that there's nobody on the bed. So what happens later? He got afraid. This frightened him. But when he looked outside, he saw something stranger. From the window, he saw that two men walking on the opposite side of the street. The first man had a dark, dangerous look. The second man followed behind with a pale, vexed face, holding up his hand threateningly. So, first man, dark, dangerous look. Second man is his face is like a vex-like face, and he's holding his hand as he's going to kill somebody. So, he has seen here two men who are walking on the opposite side of the street after this particular vision. Okay, now what is the strange thing is here? Nobody else on the busy street has seen these two men except our narrator. As these two men passed, and both these two people, they start looking at the narrator as if these two men are going to remind him that you have already seen us. Got it now? Nobody else could see these two people walking on the street, and they are looking at the narrator, and the narrator is only able to see these two men here. Now, later, one night in his bedroom, while talking to his servant, John Derrick. So, one night in the bedroom, in his own bedroom, he was talking to his servant. His name is John Derrick. The narrator saw the same pale man again. The same pale man again. He saw this time the man opened the dressing room and beckoned him. Beckoned means to say when he shows some finger, some hand as you're calling somebody. And suddenly he got disappeared. Means to say partially opened dressing room door, and his hand is coming out as he's calling someone to come, a kind of gesture, and suddenly the man disappeared. The narrator rushed to check out, but he found nothing. When he touched his servant's chest, John Derrick suddenly cried out in fear, saying, "Oh Lord, yes, sir, a dead man beckoning." Beckoning means a dead man is calling us, showing some sort of gesture. The narrator believed John Derrick only imagined this because of his own nervous reaction. Still, the event got unsettled, and still the narrator is unable to believe what's going on, what is it happening. He's unable to comprehend, he's unable to understand. Now, next morning, the very next morning, the narrator received a kind of letter, a summons to serve on a jury at the Old Bailey Court in London. He receives a letter to become a jury member, to become a judge, or to solve the case. And the letter he received from Old Bailey Court in London. He had never been called before, so this is also very unusual for him. He first hesitated, but finally he thought, let's go, because he would like to bring a change from his dull life. And he thought, okay, accept it. Let me become the judge, the head of the jury member for particular one of the cases. So now the courtroom, when the trial began, he was shocked. He saw something in the courtroom. What did he see? The prisoner standing accused of the murder was the same first man he had seen in Piccadilly, who was dark, threatening look. And suddenly he recalled, oh my God, I saw this man who was on the street that day in Piccadilly, and this accused man has the same face. The prisoner was terrified when he saw the narrator even begged his lawyer to challenge him as a juror. Okay, but since he could not give any reason, his request was denied. Whose request? The prisoner's request. And finally, what happened? The prisoners told this man should not become the head of this jury, right? But finally, his request was denied, and the narrator was selected as the foreman of the jury or head of the jury. Jury means the group of the judges. Now, during the trial, now the trial is going on, and generally in this Western culture, they'll be having some number of judges, and they all have a consent, and one judge heads the whole team. During the trial, the narrator noticed something very strange. He kept counting 13 jurors instead of 12. He was counting, and he's saying all the jury members should be 13, but when he counts, they are numbered as 12 number. Each time he's counting carefully, but finally, what does he get? He get only the 12 members in the detail. Somehow, the total always felt like 13. So he realized the extra juror was actually the ghostly pale man, the murdered victim. Got it now? Extra juror. Who was the extra juror? The ghostly person who was the murdered victim here. Then he thought, oh, he's the 13th member who is not visible, but he's visible only to the narrator. Now, the jury was kept together at the London Tavern during the trial. So during the trial, a room was given to all the jury members to sleep there for the particular night, and all the jury members, they slept in one of the rooms in London Tavern. At night, what happens? While the 12 jurors slept, who is the 13th? 13 is the murdered victim, the ghost. When all the 12 jurors, judges were sleeping, the narrator saw the ghost again, the murdered man's ghost, quietly moving from bed to bed. And he was standing near each juror as he was silently telling them, "Look, I am here, I am present here." He never stopped at the narrator's bed, but he went through the moonlight window. So, this has been seen by the narrator. The next morning, almost all the jurors confessed they had dreamt of the murdered man, though the narrator and the officer, Mr. Harker, who was guarding them, had not. I'm sorry, I did a mistake here. The narrator has not seen this murdered ghost here, this murdered man's ghost. The narrator has not seen. Even Mr. Harker also was guarding them. But the remaining 12 jurors, they said, "Yes, we have seen tonight, yeah, last night, this ghost, the murdered man's ghost, we have seen." So this proved the ghost had been influencing the minds of these 12 jurors. Now, the ghost has come to the court. The trial is going on. From the fifth day of the trial, the ghost began to appear in the court. Whenever somebody speaks, he will stand beside the person, unseen by the others, but he's affecting them. How? When the defense lawyer argued, the victim might have cut his own throat. The defense lawyer is saying, "No, no, no, the victim might have cut his own throat. It's like suicidal attempt." What does the ghost do here? The ghost stands beside the lawyer, just like showing his hands as he's about to cut his neck. This is how it has happened. Slashed across its own neck to show it was impossible. He was showing, "No, it has not been done like this. I'm not killed like this." The lawyer suddenly faltered. He got shocked, turned pale. He lost track of his words. He got fumbled. He was unable to say. The moment he felt some sort of presence over there, when a witness said, "The accused was a good man." Now another witness, Gawa, has come. "No, no, no, this accused is a good man." Now the ghost pointed at the prisoner's evil face. The witness again became confused, uneasy, and he started to thinking, "Am I saying rightly?" A woman in the gallery suddenly screamed and fainted when the ghost leaned over her shoulder. Even the judge felt its presence when the ghost stood by his desk looking at his notes. The judge shivered, stopped speaking, and he was asking for water before continuing. So this is how these few people, they were able to see this ghostly appearance here. Clearly, the ghost presence disturbed everybody, even though they could not see it fully. They were not able to see him completely, but he was visible to some extent by everyone. The climax. So 10 days, for 10 long days, the trial was keep on getting dragged. The ghost never looked directly at the prisoner, rarely at the narrator, but it was always present, always urging for justice. Finally, the jury, they went to decide. All of them started to have some discussion. And three foolish jurors, they argued, they keep on arguing, but finally, what is the decision? Guilty. The accused man was guilty for the murder of the person who is ghost now. As the narrator who is the head of the jury, as the narrator delivered the verdict, the ghost stood across from him, watching. Then, for the first time, it covered itself with a great grey veil. Means to say, it covered himself with a kind of cloth. When the veil dropped, what happened? When the veil dropped, the cover of the body, I mean to say a kind of cloth which was covering his full body, when it dropped, and the ghost finally disappeared because he got the justice and its purpose was complete. Now, the murderer, who was who the murderer, when the judge asked the prisoner or the murderer if he has anything to say before sentencing to death, the man mumbled something strange, and those newspaper people, they reported it as something nonsense. But the narrator has understood what this murderer would like to say. The murderer said he knew he was doomed the moment as he saw the narrator on the jury, because before he was even caught, the narrator had already come to his bedside at night and put a rope around his neck. See what he's saying? He says that the moment I saw the narrator, I understood, and this narrator, I mean to say, this judge had come to his bedside at the night, and he put a rope around his neck. Means to say, he has already seen in his dreams that tomorrow this is going to happen, and means he has seen the image of the narrator in his dreams also. So this connects to the earlier ghostly vision and shows how guilt haunted the murderer too, right? So it's all imagination. Because of the guilt, this murderer had imagined the narrator has brought a rope around his neck. So it's a kind of a symbolic image which shows that yes, he will be sentenced to death and the judgment will not be in his favor. So, how can we conclude the story here? The ghost of the murdered man helped to guide the justice during the trial. The narrator was chosen by fate to be the link between the ghost and the human court. The murderer was already condemned by his own guilty conscience. The author Charles Dickens shows that even if humans try to twist the truth has a way of forcing itself into light. So, hence, we can say that the story is a ghostly courtroom drama where the spirit of a murdered man ensures that his killer is punished. So, this is how I have tried to summarize the story, The Trial of the Murder by Charles Dickens. So, I have tried my best to summarize it. For more details, I suggest you to read from the textbook so that you can get some more information which has been left out here. It is a summary. So, thank you so much for watching this video. Any confusion, any doubt, reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. Subscribe the channel if you have not yet done it. So, thank you. Keep watching Mukesh English.